Warning, this podcast contains explicit sexual language and should only be listened to at work if you're looking for an excuse to connect with your HR representative. Additionally, all mentions of the word women include cis and trans women. For my friends who are genderqueer, gender fluid, figuring it out, anything in between, and feel like this conversation is also important for you, you are welcome here.
Will you open up with me? These pages, they can feed your innermost desires. Do you feel inspired? Are you getting what you need? Are you coming curiously? A secret safe with me. And here you can simply be yourself. Jay's Sweet Romance. Come on in, come on in, come on.
Hi, y'all. This is Jace, she, they, and you found Jace Reads Romance, a community dedicated to empowering women about sex and sexuality through the reading of romance novels. I have two people here who write romance novels and have agreed to talk to me about their romance novels, and also the lovely story on how I met them and how they met each other, and many, many things that we will do. I know. Y'all are gonna be crying because I'm ridiculous by the end of this. But they do know this. They've met me. They have met me. I have two incredible authors. Would you like to introduce yourself? Anyone can go first.
Sure. This is how it's going to go. I'm Devyn Sinclair. I write reverse harem romance / why choose in a variety of genres. If you know me already, you probably know me for all my Omegaverse books, but I write sci-fi and fantasy and paranormal, and I think I'll have some contemporary coming out in the sometime future. But yep, that's me.
Yay!
I hate this part.
That's fine. That's fine.
But I am Terreece M. Clarke. I am a contemporary romance, romantic suspense rom-com writer, and I don't know what else. Also a journalist, and a couple of other things.
Amazing. So I met these two officially at Smut Lovers, which, if you've been listening all year, was the last of the conferences that I attended this year. I met Devyn tangentially through Nat from Trigger Warning, and then I officially met Terreece through Devyn. Though I'd seen Terreece at Stimulant, I saw you at one of the panels there, and I was like, "Hi, whoa, people," because I'm like, "Wow, multiple people in such random places." And I think I've mentioned to you all that Smut Lovers, in its actual intention, isn't necessarily for romance readers. It is for authors. It's to educate authors and yes, readers about accurate sex and kink in romance novels. So there are lots of authors to chat with and meet, and I got to know these two in the lobby. I think we ended up talking in the lobby of the hotel randomly.
Yeah.
And then everybody's just together all the time.
That was a strange hotel to begin with. So
there's nothing stranger than we're gonna talk about we're gonna go to our Impact demo, and you're walking by families in Disney attire.
I don't think we'll get over the fact that we were in the hotel at the same time as the secular AA conference and then a Bible conference at the same time, all going on at the same time. And that was,
I think there was an adult Bible and a youth Bible.
Yes, and the poor youth Bible was right next to us.
And on the last night, we had events. Our last night party was the same as their, something that they were doing. And we're like, hi. bye. Like, sorry, my corset.
While I was in
Exactly.
Vegas, there was also a CSI conference that was going on at the same time in the same hotel, and then also like the Mahjong World Championships. It was just like another like weird conglomeration of events that happened at the same time.
I think I just don't realize how big hotels are. Like, wow, you can have
Well,
all
in
of these
Vegas,
things happening in the exact same. Yeah, Vegas is
yeah.
massive. I didn't
Right.
realize, but that was where we all met. I would love to know. Well, actually, I know, but I met you at a conference that was primarily for authors, but you two met at a conference that was intended for readers.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you would like to chat about that, share with the group where you met.
We met at Readers Take Denver.
We were at Readers Take Denver. Lo introduced us.
Mhm.
And I was sitting on the floor with Lo. What was it, like the last day?
Was it at the
I think
pop-up
it was-
table?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So the very last day of a very eventful weekend.
Oh my God.
And then we kept catching each other like in the lobby and pretty much everywhere else. And we would stop and commiserate.
Well, like even at the pop-up tables, we just hit it off, and we spent like probably like an hour past when the pop-up tables stopped, just chatting about books.
Yes.
So that was fun. But yeah, we were just trying to get to readers because they couldn't find us, and then we were like, okay, so we're going to be right here.
Right. And I ended up just walking past and seeing Lo. I'm like, why are you on the floor? And she's like, meet nothing.
That's exactly how that happened. That's how I met Devyn.
Yeah.
I saw he was Nat, who works with Lo. And I was like, and this is Devyn. I'm like, cool. Amazing. So for listeners who are not tuned in to the book conference world or book conference drama, Readers Take Denver was a conference that happened in April?
Yes.
April-ish?
Yeah.
That was very sadly horrendously executed.
It was a failure on every side. Like the organizers, but also the conference center itself had a huge amount of that blame as well. So like it was basically just everything that could go wrong did go wrong, but a part of that was that we were just like a lot of things were lied about. So
yeah. So
it's like
for
a festival for books.
Oh, yeah, that is such a good example. It's Fire Festival for books. So, like, stuff didn't arrive, tables didn't exist, timing wasn't communicated, readers couldn't find authors didn't know where they were, and it was just, can I say shit show?
Completely.
Or is clusterfuck better? Which one?
Probably the second one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Say the shit show might have been like the first day, but by the end of the conference, it was a cluster.
Yeah, it was a big cluster.
Yeah,
and it was huge. It was also like a massive conference.
3,000-ish readers were there.
Right.
Yeah,
which is one of the biggest conferences that I've known about. Like most conferences don't get that big. So not only was it just a massive amount of people and authors, but then it collapsed under this terrible given circumstances. So for anyone who's listening who went, I'm so sorry. And for these two, at least this came out of it.
Well, like, and also like I just like the moments that I had with readers were very genuine, and like in spite of all the organizational chaos, like there were a lot of really beautiful moments that happened in Denver, and like it was. The signings were great up until the last 15 minutes. And like, it was, so I did enjoy it, but I also like, I have to acknowledge that I had a 3-person team with me at Denver because I knew it was going to be so big and crazy. And so I was fairly insulated from some of the organizational chaos, but like, I just feel awful for the readers who got caught up in it.
Right. And I was there by myself, indie author, nobody knew me. So I had really no expectations. It was like a fact-finding mission. I found a lot of facts.
Yeah.
I found a lot of facts.
I I can imagine that after, if that was like your first reader or like author experience, and you're like, maybe not, maybe never again.
The bad thing for them is my first experience was Steamy Lit for like a strictly romance fantasy. I think Readers Take Denver was like romance and fantasy together, but like primarily focused on that. So with Steamy Lit, like their first conference, and it was my first conference, it was everything that you would hope it would be. The environment was fantastic. The team was great. Even the small little hiccups that you only would know about, either if you were like talking to a volunteer or just like really paying attention, were stuff that you wouldn't even think about the next day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that's where everything was compared to, right? And so I'm like, oh, these kind of conferences are awesome. I can't wait for Denver, and I love Denver, right? And, and I get there, and I mean, I'm like Devyn, I was largely insulated. I think some of the interpersonal issues that people were having, people pick and choose who they're going to mess with. Not one that people tend to mess with, you know. So I'm always like 4-inch heels and towering over everybody. So you know, it's some second thoughts that go into that. But I was largely insulated too. I mean, it was overall a great time, especially that first day. I was on a panel. We, you know, kikied and giggled it up, and then the signing was over, and then I started to hear everything, and I was like, oh.
There were also a huge amount of issues that arose from people who were not attending the conference invading our spaces, and that is not the fault of any of the readers who were there, and that's not the fault of the organizers either. But there was an ethics conference that was literally like going on alongside Readers Take Denver, and they very clearly came in and ate the food that was meant for our conference. Jim was just like, yeah, we're sneaking in. We heard them talking. And so there wasn't enough food for the people who had paid for lunch. And then there were some military guys that snuck into one of the parties and caused issues as well. It was. I think
everything that could go wrong did go wrong is probably the right answer.
Yeah, I don't know if I was actually the first, but I think I was the first author to actually make a statement like after it happened, because I was like, this is not okay. And I already knew, I was hearing people, I was like, this is going to blow up. And I need to say that this is not okay, and it's not okay. And there are a few people on TikTok that like nicknamed me the avenging angel of Readers Take Denver, because in the end of the signing, so on the second day of the signing, for people who don't know, there was the conference had not scheduled enough time for teardown, and there was another conference that was coming in. So the conference staff was literally like turning authors' tables over, turning out the lights on and off, that kind of thing. Really unsafe stuff. And I might have briefly exchanged my name from Devyn to Karen for about 5 minutes. And when I saw a group of employees, and I was like, I just needed to know what was happening. I was like, what, like, why are you doing this? What is going on? And like, basically I was wearing full sequins and I was storming across the room, and somebody was like, just watching, and I was like, wow. Well, so okay, I can fill that role, that's fine. But nothing really new with it. I followed up with the hotel, I followed up with Marriott, I followed up with the conference center, and there's just like nothing to be done.
Yeah, I hadn't planned on releasing a statement again. I'm like, you know, I'm thinking I'm itty bitty, but I'd been talking about how I'm going to this conference, super excited, all this good stuff. I came in, finally got home, like showered, you know, the travel off of me, and passed out immediately. And next thing I know, my phone is blowing up, and it's just getting bigger. And I saw that it was getting bigger while I was at the airport. I was, you know, reading threads like, ooh, this is...
Yep.
I really hope they've got a good PR team. They did not. But I went to sleep. I came home, went to sleep, no problem. Next thing I know, my phone is blowing up, and everybody's like, are you okay? Oh, are you okay? I'm like, what? What's going on? We heard you were in Denver. I'm like, so the first thing I'm thinking is like, was there a natural disaster? The conference. So I had to release a freaking statement saying, yeah, I'm fine. And
it was huge.
It was bullshit. So
the fact that it made international news is what kills me. And so I'm just like, okay, yeah. I know that it made the Daily Mail.
Guardian
in the
too.
UK, the Guardian, yeah, like there were several, US media as well. So crazy.
I'm not 100% surprised that it made some sort of media because like it was such a breakdown of everything that was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Like, for so many people, excluding the time I got to speak to the authors, if I did, and I think that was part of it, is so many people as readers too, and I was not there, thankfully, but I was in a bunch of groups for the first conference I was going to be attending here in Chicago, and newbies to conference world, we were like, is this what it's like?
Yeah.
What?
A lot of that.
And yeah, so for those of us, there was a lot of like reassurance from the book community of like, that's not what it's like, or this is what happened, or, people who were like, well, RTD was my first conference, is Wild and Windy going to be the next one? And I'm like, what? What's happening? So the fact that it just was such a big, and I think it was supposed to be so big, like it was really exciting that it was massive, and it broke down so unfortunately.
On the author side afterwards, I don't know if anybody else struggled the way I did, but because of what happened at the end of the signing, I had a lot more stock left over than I had intended to have. I had like 23 boxes, which is a lot. I usually ship maybe like 3 or 4 boxes back from a signing, and that's it. And so when I travel with my own printer for labels and stuff like that, so I can save on shipping. And most hotels, if you go to the front desk and say, "Will you ship this box for me? It's already labeled," will say yes. This particular hotel had a FedEx inside of it, and their policy was that any and all mail going out of the hotel had to go through this FedEx office. So I had already gone to the bellhop and said, "Hey, these are my boxes. I just need you to give them to the mail service." So they were in the bellhop's hands, and they were like, "Great, okay." 2 days later, after I got home, my boxes had not shipped. And so I had to go to the hotel, and they're like, "Oh, well, you didn't send them through FedEx." And the FedEx was going to charge me a weight-based fee for the boxes. And the total of that would have been more than I paid to ship the boxes home in the first place. And so I kind of, I was like, this can't happen. You know what I mean? Like I will,
Yeah.
it would be cheap, legitimately, because I live in Montana. It would have been cheaper for me to fly back to Denver and go to the hotel and get them to the post office myself than do that. And so I finally got a hold of the actual FedEx office, and there was a really lovely woman there who was like, "Okay, I can't charge you nothing, but I can charge you like $10 a box." And I was like, done. You know what I mean? I just want my boxes back, and that's like, and that's okay. And it was frustrating, but I was like, at that point, I was so over it that I was like, I'm willing to give this concession, and they made it. So
they made it home.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we survived. We didn't get a T-shirt, but we survived.
It's funny. I'm not a T-shirt person. Like it's really sad. People have such cute T-shirts, and I don't wear them. I'm like, oh, that's such a great idea. If I only wore T-shirts.
What do you? Well,
but I love a tote. I'm a tote bag.
Okay, you're a tote bag. I was like, what do you wear? What merch do you like? I'm always wondering what people like for merch. So
I'm always a tote bag person. Always gonna love a tote bag. But in general, this is me being weirdly vain. I don't like the way T-shirts look on my body. I'm like tank top or long sleeve. There's no in between. Okay. Never the two shall meet.
Noted.
I'm fully aware that like I'm the weirdo. Like I'm the problem.
No, it's me. Have a preference.
No. And T-shirts, unisex T-shirts are very boxy to begin with. So like
yes. And then
yes, they are.
T-shirts made for women, depending on the brand, cuts weird, like up at the shoulders. So for me, I have broader shoulders. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I have broad shoulders, and I grew up, I'm a millennial, and so I was definitely at the time where they were like the half sleeve T-shirts.
Yes.
So they're like, they're like, nobody, who looks good with that thing? Like low rank.
Very few people.
Half sleeve. Come on.
My favorite is a raglan T-shirt or a baseball T-shirt. I love those.
Oh, I love a baseball T-shirt. Sleeves. Give me a sleeve.
Yeah, like a 3/4 sleeve.
sleeve.
Oh, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And then 100%. If you got big boobs, like if it's a short sleeve, it'll like scrunch up, and so it just looks like I don't know.
You know, I do not know the pain. I do not know your pain. Okay, so I'm gonna like sneak this in here now. One of my favorite moments with Terreece and Devyn is that on the last night party of Smut Lovers, Devyn. Okay, but first off,
I know what
Devyn
you're going
tied
to say. I know what you're going to
corset.
say.
Devyn tied, like, there was a corset seller there, and I was like, I have to buy a corset. And I have posted 0 photos of me in that corset. But I know look, I am much more exciting in person, even in video, but
so cute.
I photograph so weird. And Nat did her best. Nat did her best in the lighting with me.
It was dark in that room.
Devyn,
it was very dark.
It was so dark.
It was.
No, but like someone as pale as I am, like I am gonna look like a vampire with a flash. Like this is me pretty. Like I have bronzed the face for y'all, but at our table, we all sat at the same table, and Terreece had. At some point, you were like messing with your corset, and you're like, "Yeah, I tied it myself." And both of us looked at you and were like, "No, girl, you cannot." So Devyn in the middle of this,
struggling.
Devyn in the middle of this dinner, like before the show started, was like, "No, turn around." Like, I can't watch
because I'm sitting there, and you know when you have this thing on. It's on, and I'm in it, but I'm also like. The cup runneth over, right? So I'm sitting there. You can't slouch, which is great. So I'm sitting there, and every move I make is like, and I just felt like they were going to topple over. Now, if they're going to topple over, Smut Lovers is a great place for it, right? But
yes,
you know, then there's the spectacle of like shoving them back down in there.
I feel like there's a spectrum with corsets. Like if it's like barely on and you can like lift it up and hide everything, that's fine. But if you've started to tie it but haven't gotten it like actually tied, like the structural integrity is not there. Because once Devyn did it, they were locked in there.
Right, and it felt so much better. But I threw the stupid things on, and I threw it on, laced it as best as I can, and I have developed what they call trigger finger, which is weird because I don't shoot triggers, but my finger will just pop out of socket. And so I'm lacing this thing, my finger pops out of socket. I'm like, did not realize that once you get on leather pants and a corset, you're not going to be able to put your shoes on. So now I'm walking around with these 4-inch, 6-inch like platform boots, this unsteady corset that I've tied myself into. And I'm like in the elevator, and I had to ask this gentleman if he could tie my shoes for me.
Oh my God.
Should have taken a picture and made great marketing.
His friend was sitting there like, are you going to do it? And I'm like, come on, don't be shy. I just need my shoes tied. Like, and just the power of womanhood. He was on his knees tying my, big black boots. It was awesome.
I wore the corset that I bought in Smut Lovers in Vegas. I'll have to send you guys the pictures of the Halloween party with blue lipstick.
Nice.
All right. Oh my gosh.
So put the homegirl up because it was going to be a situation. God. Somebody was going to get a nipple.
You might have been an accidental nipple. They were topless people by the end of that night. Walking out of the there's one of the other people at our table by the end of the night, she's like, nope, I had a bra on under this lace bodysuit. I don't want to wear the bra anymore. It's gone.
Girl, I posted in the Facebook group that sound you just heard was me because the corset zipped to the side was me unzipping it, and it was like when you open up the biscuit container. And it was boobs everywhere, and I swear to God, I was like,
No, it feels good when you get out of a corset.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My orange son is continuing to knock things off my desk. I'm sorry. Stop it.
That's okay. Do you want to introduce your mascot? Because honestly, he looks so much like Tiger, but
this is
Tiger is
Darcy.
Seffi's cat.
This is Darcy. His full name is Cat William Darcy. He's a good boy most days, but we're gonna go down now.
Yeah. So did you two know that you were going to be at Smut Lovers before you went, or did you just see each other at the conference and go, well, hello there?
I think we knew.
Yeah, we were on they had one of their like online something or another's, and I hopped on, and Devin was like, "Hey, are you online right now?" I was like, "Yeah, are you online right now?"
Oh yeah, and also I messaged you for that. Was it the TikTok one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they did like a little TikTok seminar for the creators from Kate Hall, who's a really excellent TikTok creator. And so we were like, I was like, hey, hi.
She's like, "Are you?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, are you going?" So yeah.
Is it I loved that there were so much education. Like, what was it like for y'all to be part of this conference that where so many conferences and opportunities to get authors together are about connecting with readers? What was it like for you to join this space about connecting with authors? And also, like, what inspired you? My gosh, I can speak coherently without the
You
word
got
like
it.
in my vocabulary.
We
Thank
believe
you,
in it.
Michael. Thank you, Michael. What was it like to be in this space for this education, and why did you choose to go to Smut Lovers in the first place?
You wanna go?
So many things. There was like 5 questions. I know why I went.
Well, first of all, the name, but they also had author scholarship. And so I put in for that, and I won the first one.
Nice.
So I was like, okay, well, let me book that flight because I'm definitely going to be there. And I was excited because it had so much, education specifically for authors. And I always feel like if you're not continuously learning and seeking out information to make yourself better and make your work better for your readers, you're gonna get real stale real quick. So that pretty much sold it. I mean, I won the scholarship. The plane tickets were cheap, and it was about smut. So let's do it. It was kind of a no-brainer. I will say I did have like second thoughts when our field trip to the woodshed came up, and I was like, okay, sounds interesting. I'll try anything once. And then someone was like, and so they asked about the dress code, basically, like, and they're like, you have to be street legal in the lobby. I was like, I'm sorry, what? Wait a second, what happened? Because only street legal I know are race cars, right? So I had to do a little more information digging. But yeah, no, it was an amazing experience, and it was definitely the first of its kind that I've attended. Because while most conferences will have some sessions for authors, they really are, at least the ones I've attended, are mainly focused on readers, and so you're kind of always on. And with Smut Lovers, you can kind of be a little more, it's definitely more relaxed. I didn't feel the need to be author Terreece Clarke. I could just absorb, information and stuff. So
I had been invited in 2023. But unfortunately, the way that long-term conferences in Florida work is you contract with the hotel for specific dates for years in advance. And Smut Lovers directly lines up with another conference called NINC, or Novelists Incorporated, which is a professional organization for authors. You have to have certain financial benchmarks to be accepted into that organization. So I was at that in 2023. And I heard really good things about it from the people who had attended. I'm a little hesitant to attend inaugural events. I like the events to kind of get one out of the way and kind of shake the kinks off and hear some feedback from people. So I heard good things, and I came and I really liked it. And I am also a kink educator in my community, and so there was not a whole lot there that I wasn't familiar with, but there were still some classes that were really interesting to me. Like I'm next year, like Q1, I have a book that I'll be writing that has a brat in it. I'm not a brat in any way, so taking the bratting classes and hearing people talk about that was really fascinating. But yeah, Smut Lovers was run great, and it was the volunteers were so sweet and so on top of it. I never at a moment felt like I needed help and didn't have it. They were always ready and willing to do there. Whenever I had a question, somebody made it, they answered it. It was good. I had a good time.
When the elevator broke.
It did, and I felt bad because people were looking at Smut Lovers. I'm like, it's the hotel's elevator.
Yeah, no,
And they were still
no,
really, really responsive to,
yeah,
making
It
sure that
wasn't down that
everyone.
long, yeah.
No.
no, it wasn't down that long. But there was quite a bit of like, oh my gosh, I'm trapped on the 8th floor.
It's like, you could also walk.
I know.
If you're able to. You can
Yes.
If
just,
you're able to.
there's just stairs. So they're not going to bite.
No, not at all.
If you're
It was a lot of
if you're
fun.
clumsy like me, I can see the hesitation. So
I would walk down the stairs without my shoes.
I say klutz that is a part of my brand because I trip so much in front of people. That's the only way I can excuse it. I'm like, oh, klutz is a part of my brand. Like, okay, cool.
I might have to
Oh,
steal
nothing.
that.
I trip over nothing.
Same here. Like, I can walk like a billy goat across ice and snow, not a problem. Dry asphalt, sun shining on both sides of the street, I'm going now. So yeah, I did that. I was a moderator at the Columbus Book Festival, and I'm nervous. I'm on stage with like 3 fantastic, phenomenal authors, and I'm like, let me not mess up. Just don't want to embarrass myself. I want to ask really good questions.
Yeah.
The stuff that you put yourself through. And I'm there early to check out the lay of the land. I'm walking up to the stage just to see if my short dress is going to work with the stools that they have us sitting on. And boom, straight down. I took a step and then I was on my face in the grass. So it was outside of these beautiful tents, and all you heard, because there were some readers there early, was, oh.
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh, no.
I was like, okay. I was worried I would embarrass myself. We got that out the way, so let's have a good time. But yeah. So klutz, I'm stealing that.
I like that. I'm the queen of the mystery brews. Like there's one like right here.
Yeah.
What did I do? What did I do?
Exist.
So bringing it back to kink, what's really funny is I have a reputation in our community. Like, I don't bruise. I do bruise, but not visibly. I don't bruise visibly. So like it takes so much. So it's a badge of honor. There's only ever one top who has managed to bruise me, and it was because he hit me 4 times in the same spot with the same instrument, and it was still a bruise that was like that big. And everybody's like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know that. Like, Miss Rue was so nice. So I went to the early woodshed. I know Terreece went to the late woodshed, and I've talked about my experience on the podcast already. So listeners know this. But I worked with Miss Rue, and she was so nice. And I was like, I haven't done Impact in like 15 years. Like no one's tried. I have no idea what my limits are. She was so sweet. She was like very light, nothing crazy.
Right.
And next day, I'm like, what the hell? I'm like covered on the outside of my hips and glutes. I'm like, what the fuck is this? It didn't hurt, and even in the moment I was like, yeah, that was fine, great. Like, you probably could have gone harder, but like, I'm not gonna test, like, this is not the place to test my limits. So so then the next day I was like, oh wow, cool, just bruises up and down.
The weirdest thing I've ever had to explain was our community reached out to the swinger community. For people who don't know, the swinger community and the kink community don't often mix. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But so they invited us to one of their gatherings to do some scenes as an example. And I was a stunt bottom, quote unquote. And I did a knife play scene. And so my back was scratched all to hell. And the next day I had a massage. And I had forgotten, and I was like, do I tell the truth or do I pretend that my cat attacked me? Like, what do I
tell the truth, girl?
I did tell the truth, but I was still like, yeah, okay. Didn't think about this. Didn't think it through, Devyn.
Oh my gosh.
And even if you had lied as much as they seen, they were like, yeah, right.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so oh my goodness. Fine, Seffi, get back to the outline-ish thing. But we can throw it out the window if we want to keep talking about Smut Lovers and Smut conferences. But I also want the people who don't know you and haven't read your books and haven't, followed me enough on TikTok to read the reviews of the books of yours that I've read, because I have. And I'm like, every time I talk to Terreece, I'm like, is there one that won't make me cry? Is there one that won't make my heart beat too fast?
One Christmas one.
It's a Christmas novella, and I do think the pie scene is one of my favorites. Like the mayor's like, there's pie. I don't want to know what happened to this pie. Thank you very much. But
Terreece has pie, I have cupcakes.
What'd you say?
I said, Terreece has pie, I have cupcakes. So it's...
I need your cupcake place recipe. Not your cupcake recipe, but your cupcake place. Send me a message because I'm going to New York in a couple days.
Oh yeah, I actually got to meet the owner on my trip to New York just this time.
I saw you there.
I went to bring the books, and while I was talking to the manager and explaining that I had dedicated the book to this place, the owner walked in. And so I got to talk to him and show him and give him the books, and he took some videos of me for his socials, and I took some pictures with him, and it was really fun. It was good. It was like the best way that could have happened. Did you finish?
Oh, perfect.
Did you finish reading that, Jace? Not Your Dame Omega?
Oh, not. Yes, I did days ago. Days ago, but Devyn knows this because I messaged her. So I bought this really pretty copy from her because I was like, why would I buy a normal paperback when this is sitting on the table?
Absolutely.
And I didn't realize, like, I messaged Devyn, I'm like, Devyn, why is the font so small?
Because it's a trophy copy. You know what I mean? Like, most people aren't reading the hardcover copy. Most people are reading the ebook and then like using this as like a shelf copy. Yeah. And so I was like, I'll send you a paperback if you want one.
And like all of these have like beautiful printings, but they're so hard to read because they're like, and especially for the men, they're so dark. And I'm like, Devyn, I have to take my glasses off. I'm like an 80-year-old woman trying to read this book
with the magnifying glass.
It's so sweet. I'm like, don't send me the other ones. I have the pretty ones for a reason. I'm just gonna deal with it. I'll just read the pretty ones. It's fine. But that was very funny. So I know Devyn mentioned Omegaverse, but Terreece, what do you feel like you're most known for as a writer? And also, what inspired you to write that kind of romance? Because there's such a big world out there.
There is.
What drew you to your niche?
I'm a journalist by training and education and all of that. And I had just gotten back into reading for pleasure. And I always loved romance. And these characters just kept talking to me in these scenes in my head. You know, I would roll over in the middle of the night and these two people talking, and I'm in the shower and they're, all of these dramatics. And I'm like, I'm a journalist. I don't do creative writing. I had no intentions on writing a novel. But I was like, okay, I'm either like going around the bend, or maybe I just need, like some creative writing. So I went out and bought a couple of notebooks and just started to write the scenes just to get the voices out of my head. And by the end of the summer, I had 6 notebooks full of stuff. Whoa. And so I was like, okay, this might be something. And then I had to type all that shit up. So that was a mistake. But as I was doing it, I'm like, okay, this is a really cool story. I'm digging it. I like it. Will anybody else like it? And I almost basically beta tested it from 2017 until I released it in 2022, because I just really wasn't sure. You know what I mean? I just didn't have the confidence to put it out there, basically. And then my husband got sick, and I remember sitting there next to him, in my head, I was like, what are you waiting for? Because time is not promised. So what are you going to do about it? And I was like, okay. So I started putting it out chapter by chapter on Kindle Vella, and got really good response from it and everything. And the people that, now that I know I was beta testing, I was just letting people like kind of read it and, waiting for someone to say this sucks, go away. And no one did. So, so that's
all
how
right, Kim
first...
Novella.
I know. Now Kim Novella's gone, on his way. But yeah, so that's how it started. And I was like, okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and put it out. And I set goals just for myself, like what it meant, what success looked like to me. And then I had to keep like adding stretch goals because I kept like hitting everything. And I was like, okay, awesome. And then everyone's like, when's the next one? I was like, I hadn't planned on. We really were just like test ballooning. But I grew up on soap operas and Young and the Restless and Guiding Light. And so if there's not like, a disheveled lover sitting by your hospital bedside, and they're telling him to go get some rest, and he's like, I'll never leave her side. If that's not happening, I don't want it. So I've evolved. I read other people's stuff, but for me, I like the high drama. I like the kidnappings, and particularly like putting my characters in that ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances and seeing how that tests not only their relationship with each other, but their relationships and what they think of themselves and how they rise to the occasions. So, and then my rom-coms, I just, from all the drama, I need like a palate cleanser in between. So I might kill a couple people, and then I need something light and frothy, with puppies. So
Puppies are great.
Puppies are great.
Oh my, puppies are great. Yeah. So one of the things that Terreece warned me about when we were chatting, because if y'all don't know this, I don't like suspense and I don't like to cry. Like, they're not enjoyable.
Right.
And she went, well.
Like, you want to move out of this novella, but other than that, I rip you apart. I'm gonna put you back together, but
and one of the things she warned me, she's like, you might DM me at 2 a.m. on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not brave enough yet. I'll get there. It's here. Like, it will be read.
I'll be there with you when you get there.
Thank you. I'm like, I know there's a cowboy there's actual cowboys in your series, but then I know you participated in someone else's. You were invited to write for another series. I was like, is this one lighter?
Probably do that one.
I'm like, this one seems like it won't rip my soul out as much.
No, it's tender, but it's not a full on, like, because it's short, so it's not a full on like rip you to shreds, but like literally. Okay, you know what, Chaser? You should be fine with Chaser too.
Okay.
Yeah, but everyone else I kind of designed to destroy you.
Because she's not small. She's not. She's like, she's not small. She's 500 pages.
I-56, I think. She's a thickums.
She's a big one. Like, I can handle a suspenseful novella. It's going to be over in 200 pages.
No, I'm one of those people. I get so anxious reading like the stuff like that I will legitimately, I won't read it, but I'll skim a few pages ahead and be like, okay, what do I have to prep for mentally? Okay, cool.
Right.
And then I'll come back because I'm like, I can't handle this right now. Like,
yeah, no, Heartbeat will send you through. It is the biggest one. It introduces you to the whole like world, I guess, and it's gonna tear you apart but it's funny too. So it's not all angst. I do like a lot of humor, because just my personality, the most inappropriate times I find things funny, and it has rubbed off on my children. They made me laugh at a funeral, so and we were in the front row too.
oh no.
Yeah.
You know what? I think that's what you want. When I die, there will be instructions like, someone better be laughing.
Absolutely.
Like, y'all better not cry.
We were laughing at the expense. There's always someone who either says something inappropriate or they want to do more than what was in the program, and she did, and she really should not have. And I'm like slide texting, and then my daughter's reading over my shoulder, so then she busts out laughing, and then we're all like, my whole family is just like So it's terrible. But
you know what? The last time I was at a funeral, the last funeral I attended, we had it was with my sister, and we had the same kind of thing of like, what the hell is happening? Like
Yeah.
someone got up and said something, and we're like, oh, this is an odd choice. This is an odd choice. And we're like, not for us, not for us. And I think my sister turned to me and she goes, you better play Jock Jams at my funeral. Like, I want the playlist to be Jock Jams.
I just bought a necklace. Speaking of readers' tears, I just bought a necklace that's like a little vial that says tears on it with like a sad face, and I can wear it to signings and be like, this is where I keep your tears.
That's perfect.
If you read Not All That Glitters, there will be some teary moments, but it's not a bad.
I don't know which. I don't.
It's the yellow one.
Yes, this one. That one. Devyn.
Tell us your origin story, or your villain story, and then what are you?
I'm a villain.
Depending on how we're feeling, villain origin story, and tell us more about like what are you known for? What's your vibe?
Well, my origin story was that I really genuinely thought I was going to be an actor for a long time, and
it's a beautiful story.
I have multiple degrees in theater. I have performance degrees and writing degrees in theater. And then when I was in grad school, I used to run a very large YA book blog, and I was having more fun online with my friends in the book world than I was having in my classes. And I was like, that's not great. So I did graduate because I didn't want to have, I had already done so much of the program that I was like, at this point I want to get the degree. But then I took a left turn, and I kind of went into traditional publishing. And so I spent some time as a bookseller. I spent some time as an editor, spent some time as an agency assistant. And I thought that the agency assistant had been my dream job. Turns out the boss that I worked for was incredibly toxic and abusive, and it did not end well. But it was good for me. But even though I didn't know it at the time, it was good that had happened, and that was break. But before I had even gotten that job, I had gotten an offer to be a ghostwriter, and I didn't think I could do both, so I turned it down. But I went back to that company, and I was like, "Hey, do you still need writers?" And they were like, "Sure." So I spent from 2016 to 2019 pretty exclusively just doing ghostwriting. I published a couple other things on a little pen name, but nothing major. And then in 2019, that was with the kind of the rise of reverse harem, and I was like, this is really fun, because I've always liked stuff with multiple partners, and I've always liked stuff that's kinky, and I was like, okay. And so I kind of had an idea, and then in August of 2019, I released Fevered, which is my first book in my Fae Sex Magic series. I'm known for Omegaverse. It's never-endingly funny to me that I'm famous for rom-com, because I'm not a particularly light writer. That's not my instinct about things. So it's more work to do the rom-com, but that's what people want, so I'll do it. But yeah, no, I have all kinds of, I have dragons and gargoyles and wolves and gods and assassins and angels, but my Omegaverse is contemporary, but without shifting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That was the thing that I've noticed, that a bunch of Omegaverses that I'm reading recently, there is no shifting, even though it's Omegaverse, which throws me.
Omegaverse is not originally a shifter thing. The historical journey of Omegaverse has not been shifting. Shifting is just shifter. Because there's those
I come from
dynamics
shifters. Shifters is where I come from. So that was the first Omegaverses that I read, and then I found the ones where no one shifts. I'm like, that's so weird.
It started in MM romance, actually, and Mpreg is where Omegaverse actually started, and then it went to Uber Dark with Addison Kane and that cohort of writers, and then with Catherine Moon and Lola and the Millionaires, it kind of broke into reverse harem / lighter, sweeter things. So.
Very much lighter, sweeter. And Not Your Damn Omega is it is such a rom-com. It is,
yeah.
It's such a rom-com.
That book came out of a shitpost in a group chat. Because I was thinking about it, and I was like, this kind of sounds fun, but I wasn't sure if it was really for me, because I have a personal rule that I won't write anything I don't enjoy. And I was like, oh, I'll give it a shot. And I was like, wouldn't it be funny if she smells like a cupcake or something, and it's him, and they're like, write that right now. And I was like, oh, okay.
And that
And
and did.
and that was history.
And it's oh my gosh. Um I love spicy books. But both of you are both of you are indie authors, or do you consider yourself indie authors?
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah. What is it like being in that space when so much of the hype seems to be number one for traditionally published, and that whole that whole monolith machine that is trad publishing, and this shift, or maybe it's not a shift and we're just now becoming aware of it, of people who were previously independent being pulled into trad, and their backlog is being pulled into trad. I feel like there used to be times where if you went into trad, it was like, well, now I have a trad world and everything else disappears. But there are so many authors that I'm seeing their back catalogs getting purchased and re-released and things of that nature. And what is it like for you to be an indie author in this space?
You want to go, Terreece?
Yeah, sure. I won't say I don't have a lot to contribute. I will say I did not publish until 2022, so I'm relatively new to this. Um, but I think it's telling um, that indie publishing has forced traditional publishing to change course. Um, and I can only see it getting better for indie authors because we've shown that we've got, the tenacity and we've got the readership behind us that can propel books with or without, these traditional publishing houses. So I think that's awesome. I think anytime you have more options and opportunities, and innovation, that's great for the industry as a whole, and specifically for authors who are not um, authors and stories that are not typically pushed. So I write about Black women in love, period. And uh, the women that I write are successful and accomplished and all of these things, but they're also definitely more um, like whole life focused. As not your stereotypical strong Black woman, that when you do get traditionally published, or when you do see these women in the media, that's portrayed like they all have, wide range of experiences and family life and ways that they want and need to be loved. And so I write for women like me who didn't see myself. And I think, especially like with Kennedy and Farrah Rashan, and I mean, I can just like name 1,000 of us now. Every time one of us gets an opportunity to go into traditional publishing and say, okay, this is great, but I also don't need you because I'm doing really well on my own.
Yeah.
So let me set the terms on what we need to have, and what I want and what I want it to look like. I think one of the great things that I learned from Kennedy when she was here in Columbus, she said she made sure that the publishing house knew she didn't want equality. She didn't want the same amount of marketing dollars and publishing push as their white authors. She wanted equity. And so, because she's already starting from behind, if you give her the same, she's not going to go as far. So, she wants equity, meaning making it, to where she can achieve the same level of success and beyond. And I just thought that was so powerful. And again, because she's already shown who she is and who her people are, and that, all of these stereotypes of what it looks like to be a reader and who's actually reading. She's disproven all of that, and she's bringing in these, huge crowds and everything, that they have to reevaluate what it is that they're doing in order to catch this train. Because I mean, everybody want money, right? So they're willing to let go of stereotypes and other things that they have in their mind of what their authors should be and look like in order to chase that green. So I think
Yeah.
it's fantastic, and I'm every time I see someone else make it, I'm more excited because it's just more opportunities and more avenues for other authors.
I love it.
Traditional publishing is ponderous. There's a lot of good things about traditional publishing, but it's very old, and it used to be known as a gentleman's profession.
Yes.
So you already had to be wealthy in order to participate in publishing.
Yep.
And there's so much of that is still structured into traditional publishing that they're generally 5 to 7 years behind what is actually working in the indie space. And I think people forget that, like, Kindle is only like a decade old. Like, Kindle only came out like in 2012, and things have changed. Like, can you imagine? Like, our careers like physically did not exist 10 years ago. But the reason I point out that it's like they're so behind is because it's like, it's the diversity thing is such a huge issue. Like, there every type of marginalization just gets shoved to the bottom. I have a very good friend who's a hybrid author, and she's a queer hybrid author, and she has to fight every time because she writes sapphic romance novels. And like, there are people of my success level and other things that are getting these print deals, but I'm not, because they're not ready to do poly romance. And like, that's literally the only reason is why. And so I'm grateful to have this career. It's hard because there's still, despite the fact that I would say indie is driving a good portion of publishing at this point, there's still that stereotypical thing among a huge amount of the public that, like, if you're a self-published author, you are lesser, or that you couldn't hack it in traditional publishing, so you self-published. So it's hard, but it's also very freeing, because as an independent person, I can control my business the way I want to control my business. And every decision I make, from what I write to what I put on Instagram to what I say on a podcast, is a business decision. And not everybody feels that way, and that's totally fair. If you don't want this to be your career, if you want this to be a hobby, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But there are those of us who are like, okay. And when I look at trad publishing, and I used to be a part of it, it's just like, it's shocking to me how kind of blind they seem to be as far as what's working. Like, why are, in this kind of economy, why are you still releasing hardcover first? Why are you not going to paperback originals? Why are you doing this? Why are all the upper echelons of executive publishing male when 90% of the editorial staff is female?
Mm-hmm.
Like all these things, like like you said, why isn't there equity among what is acquired across imprints and stuff like that? Like, don't even get me started on like the AI conversation and the current other like certain imprints that have come to light recently conversation. But yeah, no, I'm super proud to be an indie author, because it's like, you can get lucky, and you can go viral, and that can help you, and I have done that, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. But luck is only opportunity that you get to meet.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have a book that backs up that virality, it doesn't help you. It ruins your career. And so it's like, you have to be ready to take it. And that's part of the beauty of indie publishing, is like, you can plan for anything. And minor tangent, when I was in the YA world, I went to an event with Stephanie Perkins, who's an absolutely lovely human being. And she said something that has literally stuck with me my entire career and has shaped a lot of what I do, which is that she says, we always prepare for catastrophic failure. We always thinking about what could go wrong. We never prepare for catastrophic success. And success can be catastrophic, especially if it's in a viral sense, because suddenly there's so much attention and money and offers flying your way. And if you don't have a core team around you, or if you don't have a structure that's ready to go and be like, okay, I prepared for this. This is going to happen. My business is going to grow. I've seen viral things end more careers than it's helped. And so being indie is a huge privilege, and it's really fun, but it's also really fucking hard.
Yeah. And that's it for part 1, because y'all, this couldn't be contained in one recording session. Quite literally, we broke the recording. Come back next week for part 2, where I conclude this incredible conversation with Devyn and Terreece.
That's it for today, y'all. This has been a 3 Paws Productions podcast. Our producer is Sephi. Michael Achenbach is our patient editor. Our theme song is written and performed by Diana Weishauer. You can find show notes and so much more at jacereadsromance.com. That's JAYCE Reads Romance. Follow along on TikTok and Instagram at Jace Reads Romance. If you'd like to ask a question or share a story for the podcast, call and leave a message at 661-JACE-RR. That's 661-529-2377. Or send an email to jace@jacereadsromance.com. Finally, like and subscribe so you can get every episode when they drop. You can also leave us a review to help others find us. And remember, this is Jace holding space for you.